Hello viewers, I Dr. Gaurav Atri, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, will like to talk about the classical theory of economic development. Theory is at times also called as the classical theory or the traditional theory of growth. So over here, let's talk about what do you mean by economic development. And when talking about economic development, we should always understand that the prime motive of any economy is to grow, is to flourish, is to prosperous its own economic activities. We should have good strong base to have the right output, work at the right potential, and slowly and gradually this growth should lead towards economic development. So we can say that the classical theory of economic development is the sum total of all the theories of classical economics. This theory has been propounded and developed with the views of Adam Smith, Malthus, Mill and various other classical economists who contributed towards the better understanding of economic growth and economic development. So let's talk in essence about the understanding of economic growth and development. The classical economists had explained growth as the process in terms of technological progress and population growth. When we talk about having more and more increase in population and at the same point of time more and more increase in technology. Why? Because technology will lead towards better output. Better output can give you more profit in your business, in your venture, and this more profit can lead to higher level of incomes that can lead to higher consumption, higher saving, and the circle of economy will keep on moving in this manner. So growth leads towards the technological and the population growth. On the other side, the technological progress remains in lead for some time, but finally it disappears when the falling rate of profit prevents further accumulation of capital. Let me take an example. Suppose you are having 1000 rupees with you and you want to have a treat in a restaurant. So you alone can afford that 1000 rupees and have a very lavish dinner. At the same point of time, if you are having someone, a friend of yours with you and you both want to have that dinner. So that 1000 rupees which remains constant in the economy. Why? Because resources are limited. And with the increase in population, you cannot change these resources. So let's suppose that 1000 rupees is now going to be divided among two. And gradually and slowly, more friends are joining you, but still you have 1000 rupees with you. So the lavish dinner which you was having with the sum of 1000 rupees, you won't be able to afford with the rise in population. So in a gist, you can understand as a crux that if more population will increase, the technological changes are always required to meet the needs of this population change. But the resources are going to be stringent, they are going to be limited, and we will not be able to have further growth and development. So they can say they understood, they made it a reasoning that with the rise in population, there will be a requirement of rise in output for which technological changes are required, for which investment is required. But even doing all these things after a particular period of time, the income level will reach to zero. Why? Because we will not have further scope, further chance of having more and more expansion in the economy. So let's talk about these issues in more detail. And for them, we have some basic prepositions of classical theory. These prepositions were stated by different classical economists like Adam Smith, Malthus, J.S. Mill, and these preposition states the basic things that we will discuss in detail in this lecture. Number one, it talks about the production function. Number two, it talks about technological progress depends on investment. Then they say that investment depends on profit. Then we have profit depends upon labor of supply and level of technology, which we will be discussing ahead. The supply of labor force depends on the size of wage fund. Then the supply of labor force depends upon level of investment. Output is the sum of profit and wages together. So these 7 prepositions were commonly noted and they become popular as the classical theory of the development. So let's discuss these 7 prepositions in detail. The first preposition says that the production function will prevail, and the production function simply means a technological relation between the factors of production, let's say land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, technology, and various other factors that you are going to use. So we can conclude and say that the output of an economy depends upon the size of labor. That simply means if you are having more and more human capital, more and more human resource, so you can increase the level of output. Like on a land, when there are 10 laborers working and when there are more laborers working along with tractor and other technological upgradation, so output level will obviously increase. Then the second preposition comes and it says that the technological progress depends upon investment. You cannot simply increase the technological, bring a change in the technology until and unless you are going to have a function of investment with the technology. So you need to reinvest, you need to bring capital towards your research, development, innovation, and find out new and matured ways of performing those duties. Simply having more laborers in the farmland cannot give you more output until and unless you are going to have good, better technology, new equipments and machine for their working. Then the second preposition, it simply says that investment depends on profit, which we can understand that investment is going to be equal to the change in capital and it is going to be function of return on investment, or simply called as profit. So how much profit you earn? You try to reinvest a part of that profit, that increases the level of investment, and that level of investment will give you more technology, and that technology can lead towards better supply of labor. So this is a chain based reaction whereby each thing is interdependent and interrelated. Talking about the fourth preposition, it has a very simple understanding that this profit will be utilized upon labor supply and level of technology can be increased. So if you want to have more profit, if you want to increase the level of output through which revenue can be generated and profit margin can be increased, for this you need to have better labor supply. For this you need to have better level of technology, right blend, right mix of labor intensive, capital intensive, or both these technologies should be used. So ultimately for this you have a relation whereby R equals to function of T and L. R simply is the profit, T and L are your technology and labor supply, whereby again stating the same crux that the circular argument which keeps on going is ultimately that you need to have more investment that can give you more level of technological upgradation. Moving to the fifth preposition, it says that the size of labor force depends on the size of wage fund. If you want to have more and better labor, then you need to have more wage fund in your economy, in your business. If you are going to pay good wages, then more laborers are going to be attracted, productive laborers are going to be attracted towards that business, and people will start working in more potential. So if you want to increase the level of profit, revenue needs to increase. For revenue, supply. For supply, you need to have better output, better technology. For that investment, for that you need to have good labor force, and the investment should give a push towards these things. And for that simply you need to have a good pay for your laborers who are working in that particular field. So you can say labor supply is also a function of wage fund. Moving towards the sixth proposition of this theory, it states that the size of labor force depends upon the labor of investment. When you want to push the level of workforce, have the good labor supply, then you need to have a better level of wages to be paid, and for that wages again you need to have investment in the economy. People can understand it. Again and again this entire discussion is coming to a focus, coming to a center point, that is where you would talk about investment. All these things can be done with the help of investment, and investment can lead towards all these things. So both of these things go in a circular motion whereby the level of investment can increase the level of wage fund in the economy. A capitalist is required to invest more in the economy. And to conclude all these, we have the seventh proposition which says that the output is the sum of profit and wages together, whereby if you want to have better level of output, you need to have good profits and wages should be paid in a higher ratio. So more people will be inclined towards having good labor services, having better technology, and at the same point of time it will push the supply also, so profit margins can also be increased. So output level will increase in the entire economic level as an aggregate. We are considering the economy as an aggregate economy. So let's talk about the 7 equations of classical theory. The first equation was talking about production function, whereby the land, labor, capital, technological changes, all these things will lead to a higher level of production. When talking about investment, the function of investment will give you higher level of total output. Changes in capital can bring you more investment in the economy. You need to change, you need to bring the reforms in your capital structure. Then there should be a change in the technology and labor force to have more increased level of profits. Labor can be pushed, can be increased when you are giving them good wages. Wages can come up when you are having better investment options in the economy. So wage fund can rise and you will be able to pay them a better pay, better salary for your workers. And ultimately output can be increased when profit and wages are going to be increases. So we can conclude and say there is a circulatory system in the economy, whereby this entire economy functions like a chain-based system. I can go from the output level, which can be increased with the help of technology, that is required to be done with the help of investment, whereby wage fund and profits can lead to a higher level of labor supply, and that can ultimately lead to higher level of output. You can see and understand that at the starting and at the end both levels are connected with the alphabet Q, that represents total output. If we go reverse in this order, output can be increased with the help of labor supply, that can be increased with the help of wage fund, that can be increased with the help of investment, that can be increased with the help of technological changes, and ultimately technological changes can be brought with the level of changes in the output. So we can end and we can conclude this entire theory of economic development with the say that there is a circular system in the entire economy. All these things are interconnected, interrelated, and we should always try to reinvest our income back to the economy. We should not keep our funds idle, or we should not be stuck into liquidity gap, as in the words of JB, and we should not be stuck into the trap of liquidity as stated by Keynes. That's all for today. Hope to see you soon in our next lecture. Thank you.